30 years? How has it changed in your opinion? Like, that's something I would talk about.
How has sales changed?
Yeah. Because you're going to tell me in one way that it hasn't changed at all, but then we're going to say, well, there's some things that have changed a lot.
You know what? For years and years, everybody's been telling everybody that, sales it's all the same. You could sell a lawnmower or you could sell high tech. All sales is the same. And, at one time that was true.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest bunch of garbage right now. You know what that is? That's an excuse for salespeople not to sell. Because the reason is sales, the object of sales has it just all evolves, but it's all based on the same thing. It's based on somebody having a need for a product or service that's greater than their desire for the money in their pocket.
Well, and you have to gain their trust enough in whatever that process is to get them to give the money over, right? And make the purchase. I mean, that's
but it's I could trust you all day long,
right?
But if I don't need a babysitter, and if I got no kids, and you're the world's best, I would trust you with my kids, but I don't got any kids.
Oh no, of course they have to have the need. Right. They have to have the need. Yeah.
It's so where it stayed the same is this. The reason why people buy is for 3 reasons, and only 3 reasons only. They have a need or desire, which is one thing. Number 2 is they have the money, which is important. And number 3 thing is they have the ability to make a decision. If any one of those 3 things are not there, you don't have an opportunity for a sale. And so so what's changed is it's easier in many cases to find the person and get in contact with the person who can make a decision, but it takes balls to do it, and most people don't want to do that. It's easier in any condition to find out if they have a want or a need, but again, it's difficult because you just have to ask them, and you have to be risking rejection.
Yeah. Correct. I mean, that's where you talk about so answer this question, because this is asked a lot and it's a hot topic in sales these days. Does cold calling still work?
It's a cheap thing. What type of cold calling? Cold calling in person, walking into somebody's business?
Either way. Phone, in person, whatever. You're calling, you're trying to get to a decision maker, you're asking them a question. Do you have this pain point? Does it still work?
Yeah. Better than ever.
Okay. So I'm of the philosophy it absolutely works. It's just not always efficient, right? So it's not the most efficient strategy in the world, but it always works. Like it goes back to the same thing. I mean, activity breeds business. If you get in front of people, you're going to generate leads. You're going to generate opportunities, but you can do it efficiently with a combination of, let's say, phone and email, right? And cold email outreach, rather than the old days of just phone alone and a dialer and banging 800 dials, for example, from like a loan company. Like that's increasingly less efficient.
Well, right? You know what, but I guess our verbiage is different. Our vernacular is different. How's that for a good word?
Vernacular.
Yes. So prospecting, which is what cold calling is,
right,
is not selling.
No, of course not.
It's prospecting. If prospecting was the same thing as selling, it would be spelled the same. It would be the same word. It's not the same word. It's a totally different word, and it's totally different technology. So does cold calling work for selling? No, it never has. You can't, because you can't get someone. But does cold calling work to qualify, to see if somebody is worth the investment to go out and get a customer? Better than ever.
Okay, fair enough.
And because so much more, there's so many more possibilities when you're having a conversation one-on-one, mano a mano, than you can with any other technology. That's the barrier. The goal is to get to a conversation like you and I are having. Right?
Absolutely. A genuine conversation. I talk about that all the time. Do you have this pain point? If yes, I just want to send some information over. Hey, while I have you, I wanted to just check and see, how about this? How about that? Right? That strategy to pull them out into a genuine conversation is extremely effective. It's I guess the only The only cautionary tale I always say is like the number of quality conversations you can have, depending upon your target audience and where what you're representing, is tricky these days, right? But to some extent, this is something we've found the last few years is since COVID, because I've had remote reps for clients for, been recruiting that for 6 years. One thing I have found that's interesting is that COVID actually made it easier to get to decision makers on the phone than it was before. Because the calls, if you can get transferred to their extension, it will roll to their cell phone and they'll answer more often than they would if they're in the office, which I found very interesting. That part's been kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah, the line because of this virus, the line between work and home has been completely blurred, and so people have been. So you ask how sales has changed. Sales changed because people have gotten a lot more personable. I was talking with a guy who, in fact, it was a past podcast that I did, Sendoso. Actually, they just got $100 million investment from a VC. What they do is they send gifts.
Nice.
That's what they do. They send gifts to people. And when this whole virus thing started and everybody was working from home, they thought they were going to be kaput because who's going to give me their home address now to let me send gifts to their home? What's going to happen? Turns out it's not a problem. People couldn't care less. They're very frightened about somebody getting their telephone number or their email address. Let's keep that a big secret. But here's my home address, and everybody's sending everything here.
So that's interesting you say that. So they in the calling that I've seen, they will now give up the email address in lieu of the mobile phone number for a decision maker, because they used to be really protective of the email. Now the gatekeepers, if that's all you can do at the time being, they will give up the email address a lot faster than they will a mobile phone number, for example. Right. So they'll say, I can't transfer to this person.
I tell you what, it's a lot easier. I got something I'd like to give you. What's your home address? I mean, just like that. Listen, whatever works, you just go, yeah, that's great. I totally understand. You want to keep, listen, I get a ton of those calls also. But I tell you what, I do have something that I'd like to get you. Are you from the office or are you from your home right now? Home? Okay, great. What's a good address to get you this gift?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, just it's that whole, and people are much easier, much more personal. That's how it changed. No one's, and it's a good thing because people are dressing down. They're a lot more casual at their house and all that stuff. And so it's easier for you to seem professional. You could wide eyes people. If you dress with a suit, if you wear a suit, or if you're a female, you wear a nice dress on these calls like this.
Yeah.
Immediate credibility.
Absolutely true.
And the other person on the other side feels like a schlub.
And you have to, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so if you immediately at least get eye to eye with them. You're no longer seen as below them if you dress better than them.
Okay. But do you think that the technology and the state of things from, let's just use B2B sales as the framework for the conversation. Do you think since COVID and all the virtual meetings and that stuff, because like I was talking to a prospective client in Kansas City, actually 2 of them yesterday, and both conversations went down the path of, because we were doing the virtual meeting thing, is, oh my gosh, we'll have to get together, right? Because I get to get out of the office and off of the computer, right? Do you see the virtual meeting thing as a good thing in B2B sales versus, let's say, the old days of traveling and going to see everybody in person? How do you view that in the big picture?
Well, big picture, I don't know, because I've come to realize that I think differently than most people. But I can tell you what it is. I can tell you.
That's probably true of both of us.
I can tell you what it is for me.
Okay.
I would, it's still level 1, the way to build relationships and to get more customers and to get referrals and all that stuff is to go and meet people in person. That's number 1. So you want to get that. Number 2 is a video thing like this. Number 3 is a phone call. Number 4 is a video,
a distant fourth at that point.
Yeah, number 4 is a video email. Number 5 is an email, and it keeps going down and down and down from there. And so you just got to mix in face to face as much as humanly possible. And if somebody's too scared to see you in person, they don't want to see you in person. It's just like dressing up when they're dressing like a schlub. All of a sudden, you're the courageous, big guy, and they feel a little less. So,
so explain why, because I think the answer is obvious, but explain why face to face and then video is better than phone.
Face to face and video is better than
because anybody who's
video
an inside sales
conference, a video conference.
Video conference.
Because you have so many more opportunities to a very small percentage of your communication are your words, and an even smaller is your written word, but a very small percent. There's so many more things that you can find out about a person in a 2-minute conversation, just by looking at their eyes, just by looking at by the way they react to things, by how quick they are. If you say something that they don't like, if you say something not meaningless, but something that doesn't make sense to them,
right?
It's a physiological necessity that there are going to be some minor physical changes in your face. I mean, even spies can't change, those kind of effects to your face. Over the phone, you're not going to see that stuff. You're not going to know.
Absolutely. I mean, that goes back to the idea that, the ability to convey emotion obviously is one of the most important things in sales, simply because that transfer of emotion is part of the buying experience, selling and buying experience to me. So I look at that in recruiting as an important facet of all of it. But yes, video. It is interesting now with recruiting when you look at salespeople. There's a lot of aversion to the video thing in some ways at first in the recruiting process with people. And
it's because they're chicken. People didn't like voicemail. They answering machines. When they first came out, remember they were called answering machines? You put little kids say, no, I hate my voice on an answering machine. I'll never answer. I hate that thing. I'm not going to use that thing. I mean, everything changes.
Yeah.
And now, now it's this. But another benefit to a video conference like this for the salesperson,
right,
is, we're talking about those facial expressions and all those emotions and how they acted or whatever. Well, if it's recorded, you get to go back afterwards and re-look at it specifically on the expressions of that person, and you get keen insight. I mean, you're like a CIA, operative at this
like
point.
An operative.
It's great. And because in the in-person visits, you forget half of what you do there.
I mean, in person is better in the sense. I mean, in person is definitely better, but in terms of the long term of how this impacts sales, because you said you didn't really know on the long term. I mean, I think the whole virtual thing and the ability to do this kind of meeting has transformed sales technologically, and COVID just accelerated the process. I mean, sending reps out to travel on airplanes and go do meetings, that obviously is getting shrunk. Obviously during COVID, but even post-COVID now, we're going to see a complete change in how that works. I mean, you're going to go meet with big clients, maybe, possibly huge prospects in person, but boy, you got to have a lot at stake to be able to justify that expenditure.
Let's play that game. Okay, right. Let's play that game that you're talking about. You're saying, and everybody knows that big clients, you're going to go meet them because you really want them, and you think it would be a big commission for you. You're important. You're telling them by visiting them, they're really big and they're really important.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I was to say, man, I really want Kevin Downey's business.
Right.
And he's not that big. He's not all that stuff. But if I get a lot of Kevin Downeys, I'm going to build a big career for myself.
Correct.
I'm going to go visit you because in my mind, I want a lot of little Kevin Downeys, right? In your mind, you're thinking, holy crap, this guy thinks that I'm the most important thing in his life. This
Absolutely
guy really
true. wants
my business.
Absolutely true.
This is the type of guy I want to do business with.
Okay.
And so what I'm saying with salespeople are lazy because most salespeople are human, and humans are lazy, and that's just what happens. And so we're always going to take the easiest path of resistance. The reason why email is looked upon as, I don't know this guy, I don't trust this guy. It's just like, here's a letter. It's junk mail. The reason why email is looked at junk mail is because it's free. And it's easy, and anybody can do it, and you don't even know if they're
But doing
thinking
it in high volume is not easy, by the
of,
way, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
exactly. Well,
But
you see, but you're
yeah.
not selling with the email. What you're doing
No.
with an email is you're prospecting. You're giving them a big headline, and you're saying, "Hello, Mr. Jones. 50,000 people last year lost their left arm because of mouse problems.
Right.
Click here if you're experiencing this, this, or this, or this." And so if they click here and they click here and they fill out a little form to get a free thing to do whatever, what they've in essence done is raise their hand. Hey, I have a problem with my
Right.
left arm falling off. Hey, I got a problem with my left arm. So that's it. And so now you have, and that's the purpose of prospecting, just simply to get somebody to raise their hand. Hey, I'm hungry, and now you get something to work with.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
as a side note for email marketing, it's a one-to-one thing, and you treat it very much the same as you would if you picked up the phone and you called someone, because you're reaching out as an individual. You're asking them, "Hey, do you have this pain point? If so, reply back. Let me know. We can have a conversation." I mean, it's that simple. So it's no
right.
different than a prospecting. Now, you can engage and then ask a lot of questions on that first email, obviously, but you can start and initiate the conversation, and you can do it
What you
very
can
quickly.
do on an
So,
email, on a billboard, on a cold call, on any kind of prospecting thing
right.
is simply to find out, hey,
Do you
is
have pain
this a
point?
problem for you?
Right. Do you have this pain point? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you, hey, is this an issue for you? And if they raise their hand by clicking or by responding or by walking into your store, if they respond, simply they've raised their hand, they say, "I may or may not be interested in this. Tell me more about it." Now you get to move into the process.
Absolutely. Now go back to the travel thing really quick, and then I was gonna ask you about recruiting, but
You're still on the travel. I'm too fast
I
for
just
you,
I
Kevin
want to.
Downey.
Yeah, you're too fast. What? There's certain levels of efficiency that come with these kinds of calls for both the prospect and for the salesperson, right? So the question becomes like you want to get in front of somebody. I agree. And if you were to target locally, let's say for you in Atlanta
Mhm,
area,
mhm.
like that makes life a lot easier because you can go visit these guys and you got a lot of power in front of people, right? In comparison, say to me, I mean, obviously you're gonna have advantages, but you're dynamite at it, right? So you go visit people
We-
in person. So you're targeting in Atlanta makes more sense because you can go see more people. But
Yeah.
let's say you're not that you don't have that luxury and you're talking to you're nationwide and you kind of have to be
Mhm.
prospective clients want to meet via a visual medium, right? They don't want you traveling to see them at first. So the question is, I think ultimately is like, do you push to go see prospective clients in the grand scheme of things? Do you think that's an important facet of it?
If you want to become huge, if you want to be
Okay.
average, don't do it.
Yeah, because I have
Yeah.
a new client from
Yeah.
that we signed yesterday that's
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing. They're actually
Yeah.
they're putting reps
Yeah.
in regions to
Yeah.
travel to people because they
Yeah.
want to take a very unconventional approach at this point or old school
Imagine
approach.
that. Imagine seeing your clients as
No, yeah,
unconventional. I
they
mean, this is like such an opportunity for salespeople.
it
That's the
no, it is.
exactly the right thing to do. And this is what I constantly talk about. If you're in a company as an SDR, or what do you call them, a BDR, or
BDR if you're doing cold outreach.
if you're working remotely, and so you have some autonomy for yourself, just remember, you are autonomous. You are an individual contributor. You are in business for yourself. You're using the company that you're working for as just another income source. So, make your calls that they
Sure.
want you to make, keep track and all that stuff. But man, take some initiative and go out yourself. Make
Go
some
out and
noise yourself.
see.
Do it yourself.
Right. Go out and see prospective clients, get in front of them,
Yeah, you
get
bring them a
right.
customer because of this method. Believe me, everyone will pay you.
No, yeah,
The
they don't care.
biggest people always wonder, how do you get somebody's attention? How do you get the attention of a B2B company? How can you get them so they'll answer the phone and they want to talk to you? Bring them something that they want more than anything else. Bring them a customer. Imagine if I was calling you, "Hey, Kevin Downey, I wonder if you could help me. I know we've never met before, but I have a customer for you. I just want to see if we could set up a couple of minutes." How quickly do you think you'd call me back?
Very.
Yeah, so bring them what they
Very
want. So
fast.
if you think that your company's not going to allow me to go see people in person, they want me to do it, bring them a customer, and very quickly they're going to
Fair.
change the whole thing.
No, no,
I
no.
mean,
Fair enough.
so
Fair enough.
listen, marketing. Let's back this whole marketing thing. It's not one is better than the other. I'm not saying that visiting people is better than calling, and calling is better than video, and video is better than conferences
Email or
like this. And
whatever.
I'm not saying. I'm telling you, you gotta. If you're a salesperson, you're also a marketer, and you got to market yourself in like 5 different ways. You got to do it all in this market. Okay, here, your original question. How has sales changed? This is how it's
Yeah.
changed. It's not either or anymore. It's and. I got to do email marketing, and I got to do cold calling, and I got to get a virtual assistant, and I got to do start branding myself, and. The individual contributor that said the most important part of the sale, more than ever,
Okay.
is the salesperson.
Okay, absolutely agree with you on that. So let's jump to a slightly different topic on that because I think that's interesting. So let's talk about our, maybe we have slightly different views of it, but when you talk to a company and they're talking about where they're at as a sales team, right? And you talk about sales setup, right? The people, the roles within the company.
Yes.
What are I'll give you my 2 cents first, and then
Okay.
I want to hear it because mine's pretty simple. So I look at it as first and foremost when I talk to a company, okay, what do they have current roles? What are they doing? How is it working? So on and so forth. How old are they? Then I look and say, okay, first big question, are you driving inbound leads? Right? How are you getting your leads? Are you driving inbound leads? Do you have a method to do that? Right? If you do, we'll come back to that. If you don't, the big thing I talk about is, okay, we got to solve that problem. You either need to be doing email marketing, or you need a BDR, or you need to be doing LinkedIn stuff, whatever it takes to drive inbound leads, right? Then let's assume we got the lead situation solved. Now I look at sales setup in terms of who's in the company. I look at 2 things. How qualified are the leads when they come in overall to buy from that company? So if it's a really low percentage, I want to see an SDR in place to qualify the leads because I don't want salespeople spending really, truly valuable salespeople wasting a ton of time qualifying leads if you've got a massive volume that are not qualified. If a high percentage are qualified, then just let account executives or salespeople do it. That's perfectly fine. The other thing that I look at is there an ongoing relationship between the sales rep or the account executive and the customer? So in other words, if the salespeople just makes a sale and then operations or whatever happens takes care of everything, there's no recurring, there's no ongoing, then that's different a little bit in how you formulate the sales role than if there is an ongoing relationship like a true account executive where they're selling to that customer. Customer management is an ongoing thing, right? So typically, though, anyway, in a B2B company, I want to see maybe an SDR, but then you got your sales or account executives, and then figure out if you need to go chase down leads. If you need somebody to go chase leads, you need a BDR, you need email marketing or whatever. But I'm curious, what would your take be on that topic?
Well, very similar. What I first do when I go into a company, and I'm a strategist. There's strategy,
Right.
and then there's tactical. And so I will come into a company and figure out the exact method to go and what you need. And so that's the first thing you ask. Is
Okay.
the challenge? Are you having a problem closing for new business? Or you're having a tough time getting leads? And I think I told you this, but my thing is 50. If you get 50 opportunities,
50
if you get
opportunities. Right.
50 opportunities a month or more,
Right.
you're virtually guaranteed to achieve your revenue goals. 50 opportunities or less, you're almost guaranteed not to. So
Okay.
it's very important to get 50. So the first thing I come in, I say, how many opportunities a month do you have? Now, different from me than you is, I don't care if they're qualified or unqualified. I couldn't care less. I believe
Okay.
that the ability to qualify and get past the lies, there's a constant lie that goes on between a prospect
A prospect.
and an initial a salesperson or a
Okay.
lead generator. There's a constant little lie. They're saying, "Oh, we don't need it that much." They don't want to seem desperate because they want to get the best price, and the other person doesn't want to seem desperate that they need a sale. So there's a little buffer there. But that little lie, that little, kind of area,
Right.
there is no better training than getting bad leads and qualifying them. Qualifying is your best
Okay.
sales
Fair.
training. To qualify is your best sales, because you have to very quickly get a good rapport with the person. You have to very quickly get down to the nitty gritty that they really need, and determine whether or not they have a need, desire,
Okay.
and money and all that stuff.
I disagree. I disagree. Oh, I mean, I agree with you on that point. I disagree. If you have high dollar salespeople, ultimately, if you've got 70% leads coming in that really aren't qualified to buy from the company, then the account executives are going to get frustrated, right? That's my only take on it. That's where, like, the SDR is the role that graduates to account executive for sales for me.
That's
in
right.
a company that has both. Like, they automatically should be ultimately your salespeople, but they got to start by qualifying. I don't disagree with your comment. I didn't, think of that, but absolutely true. But ultimately, my fear is you're going to lose high level salespeople if they're sitting there qualifying people constantly for, again, it's not so much whether or not company has a need, just whether or not, I would say, budget a lot of times coming in and just, I think of digital agencies. Like, there's a lot of digital agencies out there, and they've got starting points on cost factors. And one of the challenges for them is some of them get very actively inbound leads, but 80-90% of the leads can't afford what the agency does in terms of web design, in terms of SEO.
All right. Well,
That's just an example.
how quick is that?
It's fast.
To change. I mean, it's so fast to figure that out. Listen, hey, thank you, Monta. I know that they gave you this call here to me. A lot of times when we talk to people, we're all excited about making an appointment. They're all
Right.
excited about making, but it may not be right for you. So very quickly, let me see if we're in the same ballpark. Let me ask you this: is it okay if we talk about money? Great.
Is it okay if we talk about money?
Generally, when people work with us, it's between $2,000 to $5,000 a month, probably for 6 months before we could figure out what's going on. Assuming you love it, is that something you guys can work with?
No.
Now?
I don't.
And how quickly did I qualify or disqualify this person?
You did.
And I feel good about myself because I gained control of the whole situation. But they probably will say this. When you give it that right at the beginning, they probably will say this. Actually, I had no idea how much it would cost. And I don't know if I like it or anything like that. And I say, of course you don't know.
Of course not.
But if you did, is that something you could afford? And they said probably on the lower end of what you said. Okay, so around $2,000. Okay, and then we move on. So even if they don't buy, I've moved that really unqualified lead into something that they're going to get on an email campaign. And so that's where email campaigns are really good, is for that engagement to keep people in the future. I have an appointment in 30 minutes with someone that started with me that has been on my email thing for 4 years.
Interesting.
And how much has that cost me? Zero.
Well, yeah, close to zero. Okay,
Yeah.
so you do. So when you go into companies, and let's just think about, I'm going to use SaaS as an example, or software, because you see it like that's in tech. So I deal with that a lot, right? So that's a space where you see lots and lots of SDRs. You see inbound leads, and you see SDRs. Okay, either the system can convert for a free trial themselves, or they have SDRs to qualify them, like in the case of custom software apps, all that fun stuff. And related things. So do you really believe ultimately that SDRs don't have a place in the sales process? Do you think in companies that doesn't make sense and it should all be salespeople?
That is a tough one. It depends on the size and the volume of the of the product itself. I do believe, if I had my if I had my way about it, I think people work. I think people work better in pairs. And so I like the SDR and the account rep really working together and sharing commissions, almost like one. Yeah, I like little pods like that. I think we
did that in the golf industry way back in the day. We had inside sales rep kind of customer support thing, and then the outside sales rep, and they were basically getting a small percentage of the overall sales in comparison to the outside sales rep, but they were bonused on that, and so you were working together as a unit basically.
Yeah, we would, and a virtual assistant, by the way, and an assistant. That little pod, you need a lead generator. You need a lead generator. It's like you have to run your little business. If I'm
But
an
what's the
account,
virtual assistant do?
let me explain.
Okay. I can't wait to
Yeah,
hear this one
yeah.
because
I
you
think
lost me there.
I think it's a pod. Okay,
Right.
for someone to be really successful, for an account rep to be really successful, someone who manages a thing, they need to be the salesperson.
Right.
And you need three parts. It's every business is the same. You need a lead generator. You need marketing.
Okay.
You need sales, and then you need an administrator. And so that administrator does all the things for the salespeople that they're really terrible at. I'm really good at speaking to people and getting things going and getting the process going.
Okay.
To put your information now into my computer, into the CRM right now, it'll take me, an hour. I
It'll take me
swear.
an hour.
Yeah, to take something from here. This is my, like I said, this is my.
Oh yeah, your day. I forgot. You got the ultimate day
To
planner.
take
I have
something from
sheets.
here.
I have sheets on my desk.
Okay, take something from
Same thing.
sheets and even cut and paste and put it into a CRM and get that whole thing
Oh, gosh.
together. It's nightmarish. So what I've done is, Ginger, I'm sending you an email. Can you put that in the computer? Done. And now I'm ready to move for the other thing. So
Okay.
everybody needs the first. I tell all sales reps, if you get a base salary, whatever your base salary is, first thing, that money's not yours. That money is to pay a virtual assistant.
Okay.
And that money.
That's probably. I think that's a long topic. I think to get into.
Okay, we can do it another time.
That's a tough. Yeah, I understand.
You want to know what tough is? I'll tell you what tough is. Tough is finding a good hunter that's also a good fisher. Tough is finding somebody who's good at prospecting and good at building relationships and selling and that whole thing.
Well, do you remember we talked about this one time? So I have some relationship with Acumax Index, which is an assessment product, right? And it has some lineage to some other products out there in the marketplace where it has really, similar, guts, if you will. That thing is, those things are accurate, like really like true assessment products. And there's not many of them. There's only probably 3 in my opinion. They are really accurate. And that what you just said is borne out in those in the dots. So when you look at the people who take the assessment and you see the way they map out, you can tell the difference between someone who is going to be a business owner / business owners and hunter salespeople are very similar. Entrepreneur, they're very similar. There's certain things somebody who's running an entire business have to have that a salesperson, hunter doesn't have to have. But then you've got your farmers. Totally different thing. And then you've got a BDR type person or customer service, and then SDR is actually quite similar. So when you look at those profiles, they are very, very different. And someone who has to have an ongoing relationship with the customer is a totally different kind of sales profile than someone that is a pure hunter that is not going to keep a relationship with that customer.
That's exactly right. And you know why? Not because they're bad people. It's because I'm one of them. I'm one of them. It's so boring. It's so boring. So I had my first business.
Wait, what's boring?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
I've had my first business was a deli in New Jersey. I had a restaurant supply business in Manhattan. I became a stockbroker. I had a lawn care company, a pest control company.
Yeah, I remember that.
A truck rental company. I had a staffing business. I had a business brokerage business and do consulting. All those things I would build up and sell them. Why? Because I was really good at growing the business. I'm a horrible manager. I can't stand it. I get bored. It's much more exciting to start from zero. I love the idea of taking something from zero and just growing. That's my thing. I like new people. When I was a stockbroker, I would get the customers, give them to my partner, let him manage it.
So you are you're a raw hunter from your point.
I get excited by having nothing in front of me. Nothing. That's security for me. Security is for me to wake up in the morning and see the whole world and say, you're all,
you can go get anybody.
That's right. To think, oh, I got to protect this that I have right now makes me want to vomit. and so you're not going to, for me to be an account rep, I'm done with that. So that the
So the
mentality
account
is,
management side, so the client management, whether you're doing the fulfillment or not, the client management side really doesn't interest you all that much.
no, not at
Okay,
all. I
interesting.
mean, I was a terrible stockbroker. I got the most accounts of anybody in the whole office. I mean, I could make you a little money if you started with a lot.
If you started with a lot, I can make you a lot
I
of
can
money.
make it a little, but I opened up more accounts than anybody. I always did, and with all those things. But so that type of person, so you can't. It's very difficult. Now, of course, I'm extreme, but there are
You
extreme
are.
people. But you're not going to get the combination person. It's not like you're going to get a really good hunter and a really good business management person. You're going to get a kind of average of both.
Yeah,
And
when
so,
you
it's in my opinion, let's find the people and put them, when you talk about their roles, find out when you strategize with a company, find out what they really need. And a lot of times that means if you have a lot of really good account managers that they can close sales and they're well trained and they're polished and all that
yeah.
stuff, man, hire a company like yours, hire a good lead generation firm, have them bring the leads and have at it.
No,
But
absolutely. I think the interesting thing that you said there, that just in recruiting, I
I
knew
said like
this
10
before.
interesting things.
No,
Don't
you
just
did. You're
lower
right.
me the one.
So the interesting part of people is the fact that before I got into assessments and actually playing around with that, I always had a feeling from interviews, there was this vibe that someone wanted to be a customer service person, and the customer service role
Yeah.
is farmer salespeople are not that far away from customer service. There's that client management, service oriented relationship, really important in the long term kind of thing. There's a security. This isn't negative to them because there's certainly an asset there, and it's very important to be able to maintain
Oh
those
yeah.
relationships. But there is a certain security blanket that comes for those reps with having a known entity of clients. You have this customer base, you know you're going to get certain sales out of them. Like what you like to do, and hunters are much rarer, is you got to go chase business, and you have completely undetermined what's going to happen. Like you have
Yeah.
no security blanket whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's an entirely different mindset and profile.
It's the Eastern European come to America after World War II. Streets are paved with gold. Let's go get them. We can make anything happen in your face. Let's make a
Go
sale.
get it.
Let's go
Yeah,
get
yeah,
them
yeah.
today.
It's got that
Yeah,
whole New
that's what it
York.
is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's like, who cares? You don't like me? I'm moving on. I don't care. It's big enough. Let's rock and roll. You think you know what? You think that bothers me? I had buildings falling down on people. You think I got a problem with you saying no to me? Up yours. Let's move, baby. That's the
No,
attitude.
right. I think that's one of the things over time I've had to, because I was an account manager, account exec in my career early on. And one of the things I've had to learn and kind of be trained on a little bit more, just practice a lot, is the fact that I've gotten somewhat immune to people saying no. Like you do take it personally to a degree because you want to know as a business what you can do better. Like what did I fail at there? What can I do better? But at the end of the day, I don't take it personally as in I'm not capable of moving on. Now I just, okay, that's fine. It's not a fit for you. It's not a fit for you. And I go.
I tell you, one time I asked a guy, it was a perfect match. This was in the staffing business. And I'm like, it was just a recruiting job. I go, man, I could get this. Why don't you want to do this? And I said, listen, I'm a big boy. You can't hurt my feelings. Tell me the reason why. And I'm done selling right now. I said that to him. I said, listen, I'm totally done selling. I don't care. I just like to know, just for my edification, why did you say? And he says, well, to be honest with you, he goes, you're a bit much.
Well, we both have that in common in slightly
You're a
different
bit
ways, but we both have that in common.
But it's I thanked him for it, but there is no way not to take that personally, because he was saying it's because of you. It's because of you that I'm not doing business with you.
But in my business, I mean, that's true of me in a different way. Like I'm information overload for people. Like I have so much data in my head about just all the stuff that I manage with email marketing and obviously recruiting, and knowing the statistics and the data on Indeed and LinkedIn and just all that stuff. Like what you're good at is you're really good about cutting to the chase. This is the end game. This is what they want. The pain point is I want more customers, right? And you're good at identifying that and focusing on that and not getting caught in the weeds of the details. My problem is I can't help but want to tell them about the details because I think it's so interesting, and they don't care.
So there's an old so my dad said to me, I was 9 years old. It was the last time I was sick.
Right.
And I was in my room, and Gary Zisman and Kenny Maxick and Darren Zimmerman and Stewie Shapiro were in front of my house.
That's a crew.
Because Gary lived across the street and it was snowing, and he made a snow fort in front of his house. And then Stewie and Darren Zimmerman made a snow fort in front of my house. And so, and they were having snowball fights. And I was in the room watching this, being jealous that I can't get involved in this snowball fight. It's like a good one. And every once in a while, and Matt Mason came and he would make ice balls. There's always one guy who would make the ice balls. And anyway, so they were out there playing, and I was mad. And my dad comes in the room and goes, "What's wrong? How come you're not out playing?" And so I told him, I was going down. Mommy said I can't do it because I'm sick and all this stuff. And he goes, "This is my dad." He goes, "Danny, you like being sick?" I said, "What do you? No, well, why would I?" And he says, "Don't do that." and that's what I would say to you, Kevin Downey. I would say to you, you say, "Oh, my problem is I got to get all do that." Don't do that.
Don't do that. No,
don't do it. So by the way, he was absolutely right. This is the trick to never getting sick. You won't hear this anywhere else, but I'm going to tell you. This is the trick to never getting sick. So if you have like a sore throat, a headache, a stuffy nose, and a little fever, what do you call that? You have
I would either call it a flu or a cold, but probably a flu.
Okay. So when you give it a title like that, a flu or a cold, it's going to last for a week and a half. But if you just say, I got a headache, a stuffy nose, a little fever, and a sore throat, it goes away the next day. If you give it a title, you're telling yourself that you got it, and your body will say, "All right, here we go." So if you keep telling yourself, Kevin Downey, "My problem is that I do blah, 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 blah," for darn certain, you're going to keep on doing it.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I have so much fun.
Expect a little sales training, right?
No, I know, but last thing. So I do have a lot of fun on the nitty gritty and the details, especially like just email marketing and then just the process of managing the ads on the various engines for clients and the recruiting standpoint, because there's so many things I want to just teach people, but the reality is most of them don't even care. They don't want to know. They're just
what they want, and this is why you're so good, and this is why I always use you, and this is why you're really great at getting the people, is because I don't care about all that. You like all that stuff. Go ahead and do it. Don't tell me about it. Just say, "We can get you these people."
Right. We can find you the people. I can generate the leads. I can go find the people. Whatever.
Yeah. You generate people, and that's why we do this stuff.
Okay.
Well, this has been awesome.
We got one more topic.
We got one more topic. I got to get ready for this thing. Okay, you got 5 minutes.
All right, 5 minutes. One more thing. So what is the most important trait or characteristics, or what are the most important traits and characteristics when hiring, let's just say sales. Let's leave it at that for this call. What's the most important traits and characteristics for sales?
Oh, good looks and sexiness. I'm just kidding. But
boy, I'm in really big trouble now at 50 going bald.
Listen, I'm going to say something that you know already, but the answer is desire.
Yep.
And it's desire not a desire to help people will lie all day. My real desire is because I really want to grow your business. I just wake up each morning and think about your company and how I'd be able to, that's how they try to sell themselves for the job. No, desire to make your life better. I want desire for you, for yourself, to be number one in whatever chosen field you're in. Desire. I always tell people, you want to be a great salesperson?
Okay.
First, be a great person. And you get to decide what a great person is for you. But I want you to live through that. So a lot of times, the first question I'll ask somebody when I'm interviewing them is, "What's your morning routine?" If it's wake up and decide what's on TV, that's the problem. That says a lot. That says something.
Absolutely.
If it's regimented in the morning, well, I'm very systemized with
like you're at 4 a.m. Eastern. You're in some place today, at 4:30, whatever it was.
Today it was 4:30. I wrote it down. Today was 4:30. But yesterday, for whatever reason, 2:38. Got up at 2:38. But you know what? If you,
I think I think that's a
that's like
sleep
the
issue,
middle of the
but I
night.
have that. It's the middle of the night.
But whatever it is, I have I have a process. Mornings routines are really important to get people's days are everybody. And I
Okay.
don't care if you wake up early, wake up late. What do you do when you do there? If someone's, they talk about if they're perpetually late, you don't want any excuse makers. Excuse, that ruins everybody.
Okay.
But I would say
Desire.
your desire is number one.
Desire.
Desire to
So
be the best in your personal life.
okay, when you're recruiting people, so that's true, and I'm going to leave you with this thought. So what I look for is what you have, right? Is truly
Drugs?
a natural
Is
no,
that?
well, right, natural use of emotion. Like I want to hear a pitch tone and intonation in a voice. They can have desire, but in the modern sales arena, for me, I want them to be able to convey emotionally once they're trained on a company's products or services. That to me is crucial. I
Ooh,
think training is crucial. I
like
also
that.
I think product and service training is way undervalued in companies right now. I see too many companies throwing salespeople out there without enough to get the people to truly believe in how their product, their company, their services make a difference to the customers. That to me is a core training thing. But finding people that just are, again, I talked to you about this one time, like believers, but just people that can convey emotionally. They get excited about stuff. They're excited to come work for you, and they can convey that. That's what I want to see. That's why, as a recruiter, one thing
Well,
that
you
makes
see,
us
I
different is
love that. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna steal it. But
I'm going to steal it.
except for the end, you said desire to come and work for you. I want them to desire for them to achieve whatever goals that they want,
Royce,
which
but the reason
precludes the
people work
idea
for
that they have
companies
that goal.
partially is because they can't do everything themselves because they don't have the product or service in their wheelhouse. They don't have that. So they want to be partnered with, because you talked about this earlier, they want to be partnered with something that the product or service is provided. So they got to believe in it. They've got to believe in that company and their products and services, right? So that's part, to me, an important facet. That's why as a recruiter, we don't do contingency, for example, because I believe that I want the prospect to see the company before they go work for them. Even when I start recruiting them, I want them to see the company. I tell them who it is. I'm getting paid anyway. So I want you to see who the company is. I want to tell you how awesome they are. To me, that's true part of this. That's true recruiting to me.
That's right.
That's my belief system. I think it's important in the long run that people believe in their company.
Well, listen,
So,
I
all right.
believe, Kevin, that you are perfectly allowed to be wrong anytime you want, but that's
There
fine.
you go. I'm perfectly allowed to be wrong. All right.
All right, man. That was awesome.
It's
Thanks so
fun.
much.
We'll talk to you.
All right. Hold on.
All right. Be good. See ya.